Meeting is called to order. First item is electronic approval of electronic participation of a school board member. The school board chair recommends school board approve the electronic participation of a school board member, Mr. Connor, due to circumstances associated with employment, military, or family emergency, and identifies with specificity the nature of the personnel matter of policy BDD. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. DePaul, Dr. Day, any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Gilio,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes.
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul.
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie,
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Connor, you're on board.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Next is Pledge of Allegiance, Dr. Day.
Please rise for the pledge.
To the flag of
Indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Day. I don't have any comments for chair comments, so the next one is is there approval of agenda?
No, we were going to do agenda approval after the closed session.
After the closed session, all right.
It's ordered on that.
So we'll go to the notice of closed meeting. The school board chair recommend the school board approves a motion to convene a closed meeting to discuss the following as permitted by Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, discussion of assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salary, discipline, or resignation of the superintendent, and as permitted by the Virginia Code 2.2-3711A1, discussion and consideration of prospective candidates for employment. Is there a motion to go into the closed session?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. DePaul, Mrs. Lowry, let's give her the second. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Carter,
Yes.
Mr. Gilio,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes.
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Ms. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul.
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
We go into the closed session. Attorney Towns, are you there? Or she
may
upstairs?
be upstairs.
Upstairs, all right. Let's go to. Motion.
Second.
Mr. DePaul, Dr. Kinsley. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Connor,
Oh, he's back.
Join us.
Hadn't reappeared yet, I don't think.
Mr. Jalil,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes?
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Ms. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Ms. Laurie,
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
Let me see if I can call him to just count his vote.
Hello, you have reached Daryl Connor.
What we're trying to do.
Is majority enough or we need?
Motion carries.
We have a quorum, so I think we can go ahead and.
Yes, you can.
We can move forward?
Yes.
Right. Thank you. The next one is certification of closed meeting. The school board chair recommends the school board approve the certification of closed meeting in accordance with the Code of Virginia. Mr.
Second.
DePaul, Dr. Day. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
I don't see Mr. Connor. Mr. Jalil,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes?
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie,
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
The next one is the approval of agenda. Is there a motion to approve agenda?
Motion.
Second.
Mr. DePaul, Mrs. Lowry.
Yes. I would like to propose an amendment to the agenda. I want to propose that we move item H, LCS Administration Business, up until, to our very next item. So it would become item F. And I would like to add 2 items within H. The first new item would be action on a resolution arising from our closed session. The second will be
Hiring of an employee.
hiring an employee.
Motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll? But the amendment is,
So we're voting on whether to make the amendment to the
Amendment.
agenda that I just described.
Mr. Jalil,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes?
Dr. Gupta,
yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie,
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
I see
Motion
Mr.
carries.
Connor is back or not. Mr. Connor, you're there? Still not linked up. All right, so next one is the item, what is G1 or H1?
Well, it's probably F1.
F1.
now. Okay.
Right, Dr. Day, floor
So
is yours.
this is a motion that I'm making to the board arising out of the conversation that we've had in the closed session that just concluded. And this is stated as a formal resolution. Whereas Dr. Crystal Edwards began as superintendent of Lynchburg City Schools in April 2018, and whereas on September 9th, 2024, she announced her plan to retire at the end of the 2024-25 school year when her current contract expires. And whereas on October 14th, 2024, she formally requested to amend her previously announced retirement date to become effective on Friday, October 18th, 2024, to focus on her family. And whereas the school board has agreed to an early retirement for Dr. Edwards with October 18th, 2024 as her final day, and also agreed to provide her with the full salary and benefits she would have received had her contract remained in place until June 30, 2025, including health insurance coverage and compensation for unused sick leave and vacation time. Therefore, be it resolved that the Lynchburg City School Board approves the adoption of the negotiated retirement referred to above.
Is there a motion to approve the resolution?
Motion.
Mr. DePaul, Mrs. Lowry, any discussion on the motion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Jalil,
Yes.
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes?
Dr. Gupta,
Yes.
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul,
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie?
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Want to make a statement?
Okay, then the second newly added item to our agenda, since this Friday will be Dr. Edwards' final day as superintendent, the board needs to appoint an interim superintendent who will serve until a new permanent superintendent is identified. So the motion that I'm putting to the board is I recommend that we appoint Mr. Ben Copeland as our interim superintendent.
Dr. Ben Copeland.
Dr. Ben Copeland, I apologize for that.
Motion.
Mr. DePaul.
Second.
Mrs. Lowry, you seconded? Mrs. Lowry, any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call?
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Jalil?
No.
Mr. Andrews?
No.
Dr. Day?
Yes?
Dr. Gupta?
Yes.
Mrs. Preston?
No.
Mr. DePaul?
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie?
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Now, I think we should, before I go into recess, to open up the floor. Dr. Edwards has served
Oh,
tireless.
we have to authorize you to sign the contract, don't we?
Okay. No, that's,
That's okay.
Done
All right.
with the
So, I'm
resolution.
sorry for interrupting.
so, are you talking about the new contract?
For the interim.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so we do need to put in place a contract for the interim superintendent that we just identified. So my motion is that we authorized Dr. Gupta to sign the interim contract for the interim superintendent that was discussed in the closed meeting.
And Mrs. Attorney Towns will coordinate.
Yes. So that's the motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Mrs. Lowry? Any discussion? Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Jalil?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
No.
Dr. Day?
Yes?
Dr. Gupta?
Yes.
Mrs. Preston?
Yes.
Mr. DePaul?
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie?
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And I wanted to open up the floor. Dr. Edwards, you have served the district for 8 years now. And all my comments will be the last one, but any board member who would like to. Then we'll go into a 10-minute recess and do other things. But any board member would like to say, you're welcome to do it at this
Well, I
time.
would like to say thank you to Dr. Edwards for her many years of service. I have learned a tremendous amount about how school boards run by observing Dr. Edwards. It's a much more complicated job than I ever realized. I don't know how one person does it. There are so many aspects to this that I think even us board members don't all realize. And I admire her knowledge and ability to kind of keep the whole picture in her head at once and know what things need to be taken care of. So I applaud her for that. I've learned an awful lot from her, and I'm glad to have worked with her.
Apologize, I wanted to give you the time first to say. I know your letter will be released to the public, the media.
Yes.
But anything you'd like to say, I'll give the
Certainly.
space and time to you, please. I apologize, I should have opened up with you first.
It's okay. It's okay. First, thank you all for allowing me to amend my retirement to this Friday. It has certainly been a pleasure to serve the students and families of Lynchburg City Schools. Like Dr. Day, I have learned a lot from working here and working with this amazing team. You are in great hands because we have some wonderful colleagues who are just doing the do. I will give two shout outs. You have made two people extremely happy. One is Mr. Edwards, who is probably right now at home cheering that his wife has retired for a second time. And he is excited about having me be home a little bit more and do family things. The second is my mom. Many of you know that last week I celebrated my mom's 80th birthday. Which was just a joy to be with her back in New Jersey and our family. And just the things that have been happening in not only Lynchburg, just around the country. Family is so precious, you all. And just being able to spend time, especially while I'm still healthy, and I can do that, and I can travel, and I can do the things that I need to do and give those countless hours that Lynchburg City Schools and any school division and any educator worth their salt give to students and families here. I just want to give some of that time back to my family too. So I thank you all for doing that and expediting the process and starting early. Thanks to Mrs. Pugh, because we both did an early announcement because we really love this division and want the best for our kids. We, of all people, know how hard it is to hire folks. So the quicker we can get this process started, the better we can get a quality leader to continue taking us to where we need to be. So just to everyone, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Other board members?
I would like to say,
Mrs.
as a teacher and still a teacher, certified till 31, and then being on the school board with you, I've enjoyed both. I remember we both walked out of the courtroom, the city council at one time, and I was talking about how I'm tutoring a student and all that kind of stuff. It's like staying plugged in, and then being on the school board too. So I've seen you as a teacher. I've seen you come into our classrooms and be involved there, and then as on the school board, I've seen, like Dr. Day said, it is a difficult job, but I've been in your office. We've watched videos. This is like, so I've enjoyed collaborating with you on both.
I wish you well, and I hope your retirement is fun and long. I hope you enjoy it for a good long time.
And time with your mom, yeah.
Well, thank you for all of what you've done for Lynchburg City Schools. It is apparent that you are driven by the students that you work with, and that you do what you believe is best for them. We thank you for that, and we applaud you for that.
Strangers?
I echo the same sentiments everybody else has said. I thank
Voice
you.
in the background.
I thank you for everything, and I'm gonna miss you.
Mr. Jalil.
Dr. Edwards, thank you so much for your care that shows so obviously every day through what you say and what you do and where you end up, because you're practically everywhere in the division and then some. My first memory of Dr. Edwards was before being a part of the school system. I think we were at the MLK walk, and I got a photo with you, and we had our masks on, so I didn't recognize you, and you didn't recognize me. But it was an interesting, cold, cool day, and then to see you, serving there, and then here, and it's, like Dr. Day said, it's quite the education. So thank you for sharing so much of your life and your wisdom. Your leadership abilities and capabilities have been exercised well here, I think. And I would just say you can always, even though I doubt that you would want to go somewhere else and be a superintendent, you can always ask for a positive recommendation. I'd be glad to give it to you. So, thank you.
So, yeah, thank you. So I didn't get to work with you that long, but I do know that the tenure of superintendent in any district is usually pretty short. You were here for 7 years. I think that's a testament to your ability, your capability, your leadership, and I thank you so much for all that you've done. I often liken educational leadership to being an air traffic controller. And having worked in the Lynchburg City School System on the school board for even a short while, I realized that the airport that you piloted or were an air traffic controller for was LAX, I think, Los Angeles International. So I admire all that you've done, the work that you've done, and I hope you have a wonderful and relaxing retirement with your family.
Mr. Connor?
I'm not sure he's still there.
Mr. Connor?
Oh, I think you got kicked off.
I wish Dr. Edwards well.
8 years went by very fast, very quickly, and but I know for you and for all of us, family is very important, so I understand what you're doing and why you're doing it. And I moved to Lynchburg just only for one reason, family and God. Those two things are very important in this town, and I know they're important to you. They're important to this board. So with a heavy heart, I know the board approved today, but they approved what they thought was good for you and for your family. Your mother's 80th birthday just went by, and there was I had that last month thing, I need to spend more time. I wish I had spent more time with my parents. So we thank you for everything you have done. This district is always open for you to come back anytime. We'll be looking for guidance from you for future administrations to go over, because the shoes you are leaving are too big to be filled. And that's all Dr. Day, floor is yours. You got some stuff. You want to go in recess, or?
Well, we have something to give you.
We'll take in recess so we can do those things, and then we'll come back. As you know, I have a bad kidney stone. I've been in a lot of pain. So my right days, I can see Mr. Griffin sitting there to give me a ride back. So Dr. Day will take it over, so that I'm under the influence of heavy-duty drugs to keep my pain low.
Yeah.
Your two Babas picked me up.
Don't get suspended.
It's the station number 8 which picked me up. Yeah.
Dr. Edwards.
Big Baba and the little Baba from Halifax, September 30th. Yeah. The same day you went to McCoy's home, Jimmy McCoy's home.
My friends tell me I don't understand the meaning of the word retirement, so don't listen to you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Trying to hold it together now.
You're gonna call a recess?
Yeah. So we'll go into a 5 to 10 minute recess, and we'll reassemble with Dr. Day chairing the meeting. Thank you very much. We're in recess now.
to order.
Yeah, now he wants everybody to pay attention. Yeah.
Okay, everybody calm down. All right, the next item on our agenda actually is school board advisory reports, but there are none. So we'll go on to LCS administration business, and the first item is employee health insurance renewal. Dr. Gwodika and Mrs. Jemis, so.
Yeah, good afternoon, members of the board. Thanks so much for the opportunity to talk about our health insurance renewal. As we mentioned last week during the board meeting, I think Mr. DePaul mentioned that we had presented some information and we would need actually a vote tonight because of the open renewal timeframe. So Ms. Jamies is going to go through the renewal recommendations and different options the board has. We provided some additional information just to give you an idea of kind of impacts on the changes in terms of the insurance renewal. So Ms. Jamies will go through this and we'll, again, hopefully have the opportunity to have a vote as we move forward.
Good evening, Vice Chair Day, members of the board, and Dr. Edwards. Dr. Edwards, on a personal note, will work hard to carry on your legacy. And thank you for all you have done for the staff and the finance department. Health insurance, everyone's favorite topic. So staff have undertaken a series of meetings that have culminated into the data that you see before you. So I'm going to summarize those meetings and the plan changes in a nutshell because minutes matter. So the Anthem renewal of the current contract is coming in at the current contract that, as it stands now, is coming in at $18,227,403. That's an increase over our current 2024 contract of $3,904,212. So that's an increase over our current premium, which is a 27.2% increase, and that's based on our experience rating. You know, these overages that we have seen by way of 2% of our subscribers carrying 50% of the cost of this health insurance. That all parlays into a higher premium in future years. So Anthem proposed a new contract, and we've been working with our consultants to try to bring those costs down. They proposed a new contract with plan changes, and I'm going to briefly describe those to you. So the new proposed contract would come in at $16,951,484. That is an increase over 2024's current contract of $2,628,294. Unfortunately, still a substantial increase of 18.35%. So we looked at the plan, the premium, anything that we could change, including our stop loss, which oddly enough, if we decrease our stop loss, it costs us about $720,000 more. So these are the proposed changes to bring it down from 27% to 18%. So the proposed plan changes are PCP and SCP visits. They're currently $25 and $45, where the proposed plan has them at $30 and $60. The deductible current in 2024 is $750. The proposed plan changes to bring it down to 18% is $1,500 for employee only. Deductible, the family maximum.
I'm on a school board meeting.
The deductible family maximum currently is $1,500, and that would, the proposed plan increases that to $3,000. So in the data and analysis that was on board docs and you have before you, so we looked at the employee monthly contribution, and I provided you with some scenarios. I provided you with the impact of what that looked like monthly to our employees, and even broke it down further by paycheck per category of how that impacts our employees. So if we, the first scenario, increased our monthly contribution for not just the employees, it would be LCS's contribution too, by 18.5%, that would potentially cover the spread of the premium increase. Doesn't necessarily cover the spread of the 2% that is costing 50% of the expenses in our plan, but we hope they get better soon, and potentially we drop those overages down. So on page 2 of the document, if you look at a proposed 18.5% premium increase for employee only, that's $6.60 a month. And employee plus child, it goes up to $54 a month. Employee spouse, $67. And employee plus children is $64, and employee plus family is $79. Of course, we have the most, most of our plan is employee only, but we also don't want to make it hard on our teachers that have families that they must cover as well. In the same right, our proposed 10.2% is $3.64 for a month for employee only, $29 for employee plus child, $37 for employee plus spouse, $35.65 for employee plus children, and then $43.59 for employee plus family. And then I provided you a lower rate in case for your consideration of 5%, which would be $1.78 for employee only, $14.61 for employee plus child, $18.28 for employee plus spouse, $17.48 for employee plus children, and then $21.37 for employee plus family. So these are the items that I am asking, that we staff are asking you to choose and make a decision on. We're kind of in the 11th hour, considering our open enrollment starts on October the 28th, and we have to get whatever decision you make tonight into printed materials to have open enrollment for our 1,350 subscribers to our health insurance, in order to make decisions of whether they want to drop down to employee only, whether they want to keep their family on there, and what options they have. We need to get that into to a printed material for their consideration. So I also provided you, and for the sake of time, because minutes matter, what a pay period impact looks like for a 30-year teacher, 5-year teacher, 30-year bus driver, 5-year bus driver, 30-year custodian, and 5-year custodian, to try to give you a view of all different areas of the school system and how that looks like per paycheck for those areas. So I will actually entertain any questions you have at this time.
Can I mention one more thing?
Absolutely, sir.
So I do want to point out on this last analysis, the very bottom chart, these are actually real employees. So obviously different people's tax situations may be a little bit different, but those are actual employees that we did the math on just to make sure. So we knew that. So.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so just so everybody understands that might be listening, when you said like $6.60, $3.64, $1.78, that's the increase, how much more, not just it's $1.78.
Correct. That's an
Okay.
increase to the current premium. Yes, ma'am. Thank you
Okay,
for
and
that
then when you say also on the bi-monthly, so that is like for employee only for the whole year, under the $18.73 more it would be, for the whole year it'd be $24.34. Is that what you're saying? That would be the whole year?
I'm not sure where you're looking right now.
On the last one where it says bi-monthly premium, well, that's on the 5%. Like on the 5%, it says $18.73.
So the lower graphs are September 30th paycheck.
Oh, okay.
So I provided a look of actual people. There are actual people behind these
Yes.
positions that I have provided and what their paycheck looked like in net. So all of their taxes were taken out. So as Dr. Wodaka said, some of those fluctuate based on how much you have taken out in taxes. But what I did was I took that net of each of those individual employees. I backed out what their current insurance cost is now, or I added it back into that net. And then I subtracted out based on what those premiums would look like for one pay period.
Okay, so so what I'm trying to understand also is the different percentages, whether it's 18, 10, or 5.
Yes, ma'am.
That's how much more they pay in, and that's how much for our half we have to provide.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So if you want to look at the first page, on the 18.5, it's got the employee monthly contribution and the school board's monthly contribution. So if you select the 18.5, employee only, current subscribers 869, their monthly contribution would go up to $42.28.
Okay. I
The
see.
school board's piece of that would go up to $809.57.
From the 683.
That would gain a total receipts increase of about $2.6 million, which would cover what we anticipate that premium increase, along with the plan changes, what that would cost the school district.
So my last question then is.
Yes, ma'am.
If, whichever plan we pick, how does it affect their services they receive? Like if we pick the 5%, does that mean that services are cut that they can't get, they have to pay more out of pocket? Versus if we did the 18% and then everything's covered?
No, well, by you electing to make the plan changes, their deductibles going up if you choose to make the plan changes. And those were the numbers that we discussed on the last sheet, which is our current versus proposed. So right now, their PCP and SCP visits are 25 and 45. If you elect to go to the proposed, those costs would increase to $30 and $60. So in essence, the 25 would go up to 30, and the specialized 45 would go up to 60. Same with the deductible. So you can stay on the plan that we have now. It's going to cost an additional $3.9 million if we don't make these structural changes in the plan. And it would cost employees the same. We would have a funding deficit at the end of the year the way we have carried the past few years since COVID, because we weren't making any changes in the actual plan. We would hold employees harmless in that respect. I'm not sure what that would look like in a funding shortfall at the end of the year, how much that would hold employees harmless. given the things that we've had to do in recent
So this is
years.
not necessarily cutting benefits, it's just the cost of insurance always goes up.
Cost of
So
insurance.
we're compensating.
We're spreading the cost of insurance
Gotcha.
out. Yes,
Thank you.
ma'am.
Okay.
Which is a good idea, but to double their deductibles is a terrible idea. Going from 1,500 to 3,000, I don't like that. I don't see that, that's harming them in a different way, right? So you said something that I wanted to touch on about if we change nothing, they're going to pay the same? Or what are they going to pay the same? You did say that.
So if we elect to stay on our current plan
Yes.
from 24 to 25, that plan structure will not change. But we will have an increased cost of $3.9 million.
On our side, we'll
Yes.
have
Yes,
debt,
sir.
yes.
We will have to come up with an additional $3.9 million. If we change to the proposed, then we have it kind of spreads out that cost amongst the plans and amongst the premium increases to try to soften that landing. There will probably, most likely still be a shortfall, but it will be less of a shortfall if we have less claims throughout the year. So when you have less claims, then, you can build in some premium savings and it costs the school system less. But there's no guarantee in our current medical environment that anything is changing at this current juncture. So yes.
So just a little bit of history too. So those of you who are on the board will recall that not this past budget cycle, but the one before that, the board considered 4 different options in terms of rate increases that we need to take a look at, right? So the board ultimately decided to kind of go to a middle of the road kind of thing, hoping that maybe experience wouldn't be increase as much as we thought it would be. Fast forward to this time period, that of course did happen. We did not balance in our health insurance fund, and I think we've talked a couple of times about how that fund has continued to be a challenge. So we provided that option in 2 different ways to get to where the health insurance fund balances itself through plan design changes as well as rate increases. And we think if you don't do one or the other, it just makes the other one worse. So if you don't do any plan design changes, then the rate increases are going to have to be significantly higher, both on the school side, the LCS side, and on the employee side in order to make that up. So that's why that sort of plan design change is there. So we try to kind of find a middle of the road perspective. So nobody's happy about any of this,
Yes.
but
Ever.
yeah, and this is not a happy thing.
Yeah.
The division went a number of years without making any changes to premiums. We did a first change last year. Obviously, from a management perspective, it's a better thing to do smaller increases sort of every year, but that's not the position that we're in at this particular moment in time, and hopefully we would be in the future. So I didn't mean to take over.
No, you're fine. I will entertain any more questions. Yes, Dr. Day.
Tell me what this line means, the budget. Is that the amount that would be in our operating budget for?
So that is the premium increase. So currently, our premium for 2024 is just under 15 million. The 2025 premium is going up to 18,227,000.
So when you say our, you mean the
The
school
LCS, the
district?
school systems premium. The proposed plan brings that premium back down to 16,951,044, but that is still an increase based on our experience rating. We know how insurance companies work. They look at your prior experience ratings and they increase your premiums accordingly. So, because our experience rating has been high, mainly on the cancer side, of course, they're increasing the cost of insurance based on those experience ratings. So, yes, the proposed is 16,951,000. So, yes, sir.
So
tell me if I'm understanding this right, this might help other people too, unless I'm understanding it incorrectly, and then I'll confuse everyone. But the insurance company says if you change your in-network cost, 30, 60, 1,500, 3,000 deductible,
Yes, sir.
then we'll charge you $16,951,484.
Yes, sir.
We're coming back on top of that and saying, now, if we increase our premiums by this 18.5%, we can cover that 2.6 million there increase that we're being charged and hopefully come out at a zero balance for the.
That is correct.
Is that my understanding of that?
That is
Sharing that, so both the division and the employee would share.
So everybody shares, it's a team effort, et cetera, et cetera.
That is correct.
Okay.
And in a perfect world, when we go through this exercise in future years, if we have created, strategized correctly, and we're coming in with more money in our self-funded environment, we could potentially reduce those back down for employees. But right now, in this current environment, we don't see that happening.
And if our employees have a good year health-wise, then we could come in under budget.
Potentially, we could have additional funding and health insurance to cover that surplus to cover those.
Well, I'm certainly in favor as we move into the future of doing small increases every year.
Yes, sir.
Instead of having to do these
Yes, sir.
lurches forward periodically, because this is hard on people.
We are right-sizing currently, and it's challenging to do a
Oh,
right
absolutely.
sizing.
No, it's very challenging, yeah.
Can you guess by what degree this offsets the 3% salary increase?
Go ahead.
So we did a little bit, it just obviously depends on what your job is, right? So if you are a bus driver, you make less money, certainly. And so that's there. I think what we did this conversation in Finance Committee, I think, like a first-year teacher, your salary increase you got July 1st, and then additional one you'll get July 30th, so not counting that one. I think it was like $60 a paycheck that you'd increase. This would increase rates by $6.60 if you're a single individual, right? Obviously, if you have a family or if you've been here longer or if you have a different job, that would be different. But for sort of as a first-year teacher, your increase would have this year would have increased by about $60 a paycheck. This would take away $6.60.
It's about 54, it ends up being 54.
Yeah, and then, of course, in this, so the plan year starts January 1st, goes through December 31st. So assuming that we were able to get the money from city council to do it and that sort of thing, the 3% raise that was included in the General Assembly's budget would go in, then you would have that additional funds as well, so.
The bottom line is that some people are going to still come out ahead, some people are going to come out behind. I mean, it seems to me, with the plan. I mean, it's just depending on their situation, family versus single employee only.
Can we still tell Anthem to take a hike and look at other places for this?
Well, you looked at that.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, so we took a look at a couple different options, the local option, I'm sorry, you wanted to-
I was just confirming that we did take a look at that. And we do have a consultant that does a lot more in-depth review of our available options. And what they came up with was apparently the best, with everything being considered.
And then, of course, one of the things we're running up against right now, too, is this October 28th deadline. I mean, if we want to look at doing some more exploration for next year, we could potentially do that. But this year, I don't think we've run out of time to do a lot of exploration. But like Mr. DePaul said, they have done that hard work. So.
Yeah, this isn't just, all of us running numbers. We actually pay a lot of money to a consultant whose full-time job is to come up with best case scenarios, premium packages.
So we pay a consultant to do that for us. Okay.
In addition to us and whatever expertise we bring to the table, that is a higher level of expertise.
The other thing we did, we took a look at another option called the local choice, which is a statewide consortium, primarily of local governments and school divisions that kind of go together. We got a proposal from them, and the benefit of that is that you get a set budget number every year. This is what you have to pay, and then if you have an overage, that comes to you next year, so you don't have to worry about that so much in the budget. But the Finance Committee reviewed that and said, hey, before previous Finance Committee said, hey, we looked at those rates, they're much higher than what we're talking about right now, so it didn't make a lot of sense at that time. And so this is kind of a midpoint, so we continue to maintain our self-insurance pool with this as well.
Their rates were too much, so it wasn't.
Yeah, the local choice option was higher than what we're proposing
Yeah,
here.
they came in a significantly amount higher based on our experience rating.
Yeah. And I think what all of this shows is that we have this sort of fundamental unbalanced issue with our health insurance fund. So hopefully what we'll do is we'll get it sort of right-sized, as Ms. Jamie said, and then it'll be more reasonable going forward. But, you know, it obviously all depends on what the environment is.
So I have a question for the board, though, since it's only my second year, but, or you may know even more. Is this something we put in our budget item when we do budgets, to add this to ask for our budget?
Health insurance reserve, and
Well-
budget, yeah.
We've added money into the actual budget, the operating budget, like 1 year, I'm looking at Dr. Gupta's not here. 1 year we did $800,000 extra, just so staff would not have to pay. Then the following year, we did $500,000 extra, so staff wouldn't have to pay. So we kept buildings and keeping staff rates flat up until, I guess it was last year, where we increased a little bit to match the city a little bit better. That was probably the first time. But for the first maybe 4 years that I was here, I don't think those rates have gone up for staff, but they have gone up for us and cut into the budget a couple times.
So this is something we can add into our budget when we put it to balance it out?
We have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Other comments? Now, we need a motion on this, because we need to make a decision.
Yes, sir, and which scenario that you would
That's
like to
right.
choose.
Didn't we come from committee for the scenario?
We did, yeah.
So we
The
don't need a
committee has a
motion.
recommendation?
The recommendation is what is up there.
I saw a 10% and then 18% on the other.
But the recommendation is,
Just the one.
Is the 18%, yeah.
Is the
The first, we provided a couple different ones.
yeah, but you gave the other options.
Just as for informational items,
But
yes.
it was just confusing, since it came from committee. We don't need a motion.
Sure
We
thing,
just
that's
need
fair.
to-
Yeah.
So just, if we choose the 10, then we're gonna have a shortfall that we're gonna have to make up. If we choose a 5, same thing. What they're trying to do with the 18 is balance it out, so that employees or cities share that extra cost, and then we come out at, hopefully, a zero balance.
Zero balance, but you still might have a shortfall, is what you
Yeah.
indicated.
You'd always
You
never
can't
know.
predict
Yeah.
the actual costs of emergencies
Or
or
the-
unforeseen illnesses.
So there is a motion on the floor because it's recommended by committee.
Yes.
And the motion on the floor is to accept the 18.5% premium increase, which is the right-hand column here. That's the motion.
That's not the premium increase, that's just the
No, but that's the plan.
plan, right, yeah.
Mr. Connor, did you have a question?
Trying to speak for it, nobody's ignoring me, so I don't,
Well, we don't hear you, man.
We haven't been hearing you. Go ahead.
I don't know how to work this thing, because what do I do?
We hear you now.
We hear you now.
We hear you now.
Okay. I had some questions. I think maybe Anthony asked the same question. Like, we're at too late now, but how much shopping around did we do? Why are we sticking with Anthem? Are they the only company that? Because I believe insurance should be competitive. Did somebody want our business besides Anthem?
Daryl?
And besides the school district thing, like Humana or United, and what proposals did we get from them?
Daryl? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. We did go through, I don't know if you heard us, but we have a actual consultant that has been hired to do a lot of that legwork for us. As you probably had private insurance at one point, sometimes going to a different carrier, they put you at a higher rate. Sometimes they don't, but sometimes they do. So with the amount of people that we have in the groups that we might have been involved in, we've come up with these different options, and everybody else was higher. That was part of what we did this year on finance and part of what we did last year on finance.
This is the lowest it gets.
My concern is what I heard someone else say. We give the employees a 3% increase and then we snatch it back with higher insurance costs. That's something we really need to look at.
But Daryl, I can tell you as a teacher that before I retired, that was a yearly thing. I mean, that was just normal. You get a raise and then the insurance takes it. That was like how it worked, it seems like. Because insurance always goes up.
But it won't work that way for everyone. It'll just depend on what plan they're on, and it's a multi-factored thing. Some people will still come out ahead, but you're right, Daryl, some folks will come out behind.
So basically, we're offering this to the employees during open enrollment when they have the option to choose different insurance plans for their family. So this will be our,
That's correct,
Version.
sir. Yes, sir.
okay.
So they can choose the 18, 10, and 5?
No,
Oh, I was gonna say, wait a
they
minute.
they can
Okay.
choose the category by which they are covered.
I see.
They can drop to employee only. And so just for your constituents, I know the board most likely understands this. When we look at employee plus family, that could be a family of 2, 3. That could be a family of 11, 12. They have to cover the spread, and they're not sure. They have to spread that amongst however many family members that they would be covering. So that's why when you look at the family category, those costs go up to cover members in each family. So
Would we benefit at all if the premium of $25.45 that changed to $30.60 go to $35.65 instead, or how much would that benefit us instead of doubling the deductible from $1,500 to $3,000?
I can provide you the proposed plan that you have before you. We can go back and negotiate those amounts with Anthem if you'd like, but I don't have that data.
So if we pass this tonight, you can still go back and
We
crunch those numbers and
won't
then
be able
offer-
to do open enrollment on October
Count
the
on it.
28th, but
what is it, the 15th?
It's not gonna, we're not gonna have another time to vote. The other part is that we don't run the quotes. So we would have to go back and run it through,
They produce the quotes. We
and there's no guarantee that they would even run it for us by the time that we would need to have it for open enrollment. They, it's not like, they would run it, double check it, and then run it again.
I will say, sir, that they reviewed and analyzed every piece of our insurance. They gave us the lowest they could figure out and analyze how to do. So I feel sure that we're not going to get a lower premium than what you have before you. They looked at every feature, they looked at combining, they looked at going to the local choice, the regional, that they looked at every, and this was the best plan that they could come up with.
That's close to what I'm suggesting. I'm just saying to offset the one with the other, keeping the same premium total, but if there's a calamity of some sort, they have a deductible, instead of $3,000, it can remain the same if the 30/60 go up a little bit. You know what I mean? So the $6 that we talked about could be $7, $8. How much will that offset the deductible if we kept the deductible the
Yes,
same?
I can't answer that question. I will say, in consideration of their routine doctor visits, their wellness visits, things of that nature, you don't tip into that deductible. So they can go to the doctor without having to pay their deductible because their wellness visits are included for the $25. Their specialist visits are $45 currently. So they would have, if they are in network, the max out of pocket to them would be $30 or $60, but the majority of wellness visits they will not even have to pay for those visits, because wellness is included in this. Their annual checkups, things of that nature. So,
Mr. Vice Chair, is there still a motion on the floor?
There's still a motion on the floor. We're still discussing it.
Okay, so one last thing. I was looking at where we currently are from employee child all the way down, and then just looked at the employee family. And it looks like it would go up anywhere from just 50 to 80 bucks a paycheck. Is that right?
on the employee family?
Like if I looked at our current plan for employee and child is $292. For the 18%, for employee child is $346. So that's $54.
If you'll look
Increase.
at, yes, that's correct.
Okay, so that's how to look at
$54.
I was just wondering, how much of an increase every month would it be? So if for the most expensive, which is employee and family is $427. We go to employee and family down there, it's like $80.
This is per pay period, it's not per month.
Yes, per pay period.
Per pay period.
Yeah, per pay period.
So double.
Correct. Now, the increase, you add that to the monthly contribution that's already there. So if you want to go back up to the first page, the employee monthly contribution for employee only is $42.28.
So it goes up
Employee plus
$7.
child monthly contribution would be $346.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. I was
Yes,
looking at the first current and then that one. So yeah, that's why I started with employee child, because employee only goes up $7. So,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. All right, I'm just trying to understand that.
But we also have more employee onlys.
Oh, okay.
Eight, almost
The
seven.
column
So
to
it's
the
only
left.
$7.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am, $6.60.
All right.
So let me make a comment. It is painful to look at the increases, particularly the deductible. And in some cases, the employee contribution is going up by a significant amount. I think, at least in my mind, there's two things to realize. That for years, we have been protecting our employees from the cost of insurance by the board picking up more and more of the cost and us paying out of pocket for their insurance premiums. What we're trying to do now is bring the balance back. Secondly, it's not only insurance costs that are going up, cost of everything is going up.
Oh, yeah.
Gasoline costs, groceries, everything is going up. This happens to be a cost that is paid for directly out of the employee's paycheck rather than going through their bank account. But it's the same thing. If you get a salary increase of 3%, but you're going to have to spend more of that on gas, you're going to have to spend more of that on groceries, you're going to have to spend more of that on rent, perhaps, depending upon what your living circumstances are. It's no different here. The cost is going up. This is just a cost that we as the board see because it comes directly out of our accounts. So while I understand the discomfort of seeing these costs go up, it isn't like this is unique to health insurance. It's the fact that we live in an inflationary environment and costs go up. So the motion on the floor is to approve the proposed 18.5% premium increase. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, I just want to make the point that we're doing a lot of this because we're not getting money from city council. If we were getting money from city council, we would be able to have we'd be able to do more. Ball's not in our court. We do not have revenue, the ability to raise revenue. We do not have the ability to do a lot of things, to either appropriate, allocate, whatever it is. The fight is not here. We have been tasked with two jobs. One is to save money, and one is to act as if we can go out with $150 million extra dollars. We have to plan for both. This seems to be the best, or the most likely outcome of not getting any more money or having level funding. That's the reason why this is where we're at. Now, and as a board, you can go ahead and say, we only want to increase 5%. You can do that. This board can vote for that. You can vote for a 10% increase. We're recommending 18 because that's one of the things we felt was a good balance.
Oh, instead of the 23.
Or more, yeah.
Okay.
We thought this was a good balance. So when it comes right down to it, if you don't think that's good, you don't like it, vote for 5.
So,
We might not get the money, so we're going to be strung up at that point. So this is what we've just figured was the best.
so the motion on the floor is specifically. He's talking out the window.
We can hear him talking out the
Sheriff's Department down, Rusty.
The motion on the floor is specifically for the 18.5%
Yes.
increase. If you really want to advocate for a different number,
Yes.
then you should vote no on this motion and then come back with a different proposal.
So discuss it before you vote no. Discuss it and come up with a number if 18 is not where you want it to be. Do a straw poll, do a straw vote.
Motions on the floor.
Well, there's a motion on the floor.
There's a motion on the floor, but we can still discuss. We can
Yeah,
discuss if
okay,
we're going,
all right.
because we're deciding whether or not we're going to accept this recommendation from the board. And if you want to say no, don't waste the time going into another no vote and then coming back and voting yes for it. I'm saying, just go ahead and either say, discuss it now to come up with the number that you want, and then vote no if you don't like the 18%. Straw poll it.
Well, in thinking of the last two thoughts that were given on it, and you guys making it clear, it's something I just thought about. I will, in keeping with the straw poll vote, have confidence that things can change on the turn of a dime, and perhaps in 2025 as well. So based on that and 3 words, I think would give me confidence that this may not be as bad as I think it is just by looking at the surface. That would be drill, baby, drill. I think that the future can make it better for our employees, and I would vote yes at this time.
Any other discussion before we have the vote? Okay, once again, the motion on the floor is to accept the 18.5% proposed premium increase. And I think we're ready to call the question. So, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Connor?
Abstain.
I'm sorry, didn't I hear
He
you?
abstained.
Mr. Jalil?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Dr. Day?
Yes?
Mrs. Preston?
Yes.
Mr. DePaul?
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie?
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is the proposed cell tower lease. Dr. Wardicott.
Thank you, Dr. Day. This is an item that is just to you tonight for information. It'll come back to you at your November meeting. So we have received a proposal from a company called Milestone Towers. They do cell tower placements on properties that people own, and they lease those properties for a certain period of time. We've received a proposal for a site on our facilities and transportation site. I did sort of a crude drawing here because it was hard to see from the actual engineering drawings. If you'll note here, the front part of the property is where the school buses park and the building is. You see the sort of blue X next to the darker blue road that's now there. That road is not shown on the aerial, but shortly before I came to work here, that road was built to connect to Bradley Drive there. So there is a proposal for a lease agreement for a cell tower site. Now, the school board would not be necessarily a party to the lease because the city owns the property, but we have done this in the past, I believe at the Heritage Campus as well. And so what this does, what we're asking for is the school board to adopt a resolution of support saying, hey, city council, we think that placing a cell tower here is appropriate for the use. And also, we would appreciate if city council would consider appropriating the funds received for rental of the property into the city's capital fund, specifically for development of that site. So as you can imagine, there's very rarely capital dollars to invest in our facilities and transportation site because we are often trying to put those dollars into school buildings, right? And so this would be an opportunity to develop that. The actual lease agreement, you don't see because, again, the school board is not a part of that. But again, we would ask that the city council consider appropriating those funds, and that's been done before previously as well. So again, this is a very simple, just simple resolution of support. Do you think that we should use the property for this? This did go to the Finance Committee for their consideration, and I believe it's okay to say that they recommended approval.
And the proposed resolution here does include a request that the revenue from this lease be put in the
That's right.
capital improvement fund, like you said.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Discussion?
Where's the closest school to this?
This is,
It's a bus garage.
This is,
Bus
yeah,
lot.
this is off of,
This is over by the Mayflower
yeah,
Drive
it's
part
over
of
by the
town.
DMV.
bus lot.
It's very far from any school.
And this was a site that was chosen by the company. They do their analysis and say, where is there a deficit of sites, and here's where it makes sense.
Did you ask them if they only need one?
I always thought it was a water feature.
No.
I swear to God.
My
eyes are going.
my drawing skills are limited.
Well, if they can use 2 or 3 sites, let us know.
Sure thing. That's right.
So this is just for information? You're not asking for action?
Not asking for action. Obviously, if you wanted to make an action, that would be fine, but certainly you don't have to take a vote tonight.
So,
We have time.
time for,
We can wait, we don't have to do it.
okay. All right.
This is half
So,
an acre.
well, it'll come back to us in the future at what, next meeting?
The next meeting.
Action, okay.
So what's the next step then if we don't do anything tonight?
Oh, so it'll come back to you at the next board meeting. So we
So
just,
what is happening between this meeting and that meeting that you have to do?
oh, nothing.
Nothing.
Oh, so it's not gonna go to city council?
Not yet.
No.
It'll come here
Oh, okay.
first.
There's, the resolution is attached to the agenda, and we would be voting to approve that resolution.
Okay.
So, forgetting the previous agenda item, usually we don't like to bring things to you and say vote tonight. We want to give you have time to see it.
Think of it.
Certainly, if you wanted to approve it, that would be great too, but just don't want to force you.
Well, it's away from home, so
Yep.
that's good.
Any other discussion of this topic?
I can make a motion to approve it if,
Well, we just said we're going to do that at the next meeting. We're just informing the board tonight, unless you are making a motion to make it an action item. Is that what you're proposing?
yes, let's make a motion to make it an action item to save time if there's nothing else
Second.
needed to act to it.
Yeah.
Second.
Any discussion? The motion is to make this into an action item so we can vote on it tonight. Any discussion of that?
Are there any disadvantages to doing it this way, though?
To doing it what way?
The way he's describing it, so that we vote on it now and so forth. So are there any disadvantages to
No
doing it?
disadvantage.
No disadvantage, okay.
No, ma'am.
No actions happening between now and the next meeting, so.
Well, I think what she's asking is, are there negatives to this plan? Is there any reason that we ought to not make a judgment now?
The only thing I could say is that the city's going to do what the city wants to do, but this is to support, say yay, and that we're going to request that the money comes to us. So if we don't do anything, they would probably still do it
Yeah.
anyways, and take the money and have no consideration for us.
So there are advantages to doing it first.
Well, then, okay,
Is that what I'm
yes,
hearing?
that makes more sense. You said disadvantage, I said
Well,
not.
yeah, well, I kind of meant both.
Okay.
She said con, you said pro.
Do I need a second?
Was your motion seconded?
Yes.
Yes. Any further discussion of the motion to make this an action item? Okay, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Connor,
Yes.
Mr. Gilio,
Yes,
Mr. Andrews,
Yes.
Dr. Day,
Yes?
Mrs. Preston,
Yes.
Mr. DePaul.
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie.
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay. So this is now an action item. We, I guess, need a motion to adopt the support resolution.
Second.
Any discussion? The support resolution is here, attached to the agenda. You can look at it to see exactly what it says. It does specifically say, the second item down at the bottom, that the Lynchburg School Board does request that City Council annually appropriate revenues received from the proposed lease to the Lynchburg City Schools Capital Fund for the express purpose of making capital improvements at the Facilities and Transportation Department site. So there is the request to the city that the revenue from this lease be made available to us. Any discussion of the motion to approve the support resolution?
Who made the motion and who second? He made it.
Motion second.
Yes.
That's for action.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Please call the roll.
Mr. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Jalil?
Yes.
Mr. Andrews?
Yes.
Dr. Day?
Yes?
Mrs. Preston?
Yes.
Mr. DePaul?
Yes.
Mrs. Laurie?
Yes.
Dr. Tinsley?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Next up, let's see, get that out of the way. Ad hoc Superintendent Search Committee, Dr. Tinsley.
Yeah, so the first time I get it on the agenda, I don't need a vote. So I don't need a vote from you. I just want to give you information. I'm going to have this agenda item on at each meeting from now until we choose the next superintendent, just to continue to give you updates. Only have a few updates this time. As I said at our last meeting, the ad hoc committee did decide that we want to give periodic updates to the LCS staff via email on where we are. So that email, we did draft that email, edited it, and did send it out today to all LCS staff, so they got a short update of where we are in the search process. Also, right now, with the public affairs folks, LCS, Shannon Gage in particular, she is drafting up a press release, so a shortened version of that we will look at here probably tomorrow or the next day, and we'll release that to the press so that they have an update as well, so the community at large has an update. Also today, I received the draft RFP, request for proposals from the city procurement office. Myself and Dr. Nillis are looking at that right now. Once we approve that as the co-chairs, that will go back to the city procurement office. They will post that on the LCS and city websites for businesses to propose, offer proposals, for search firms to offer proposals for to do the work of searching for the next superintendent of Lynchburg City Schools. That will stay posted for approximately 2 to 3 weeks, at which time we will continue our business as a committee and taking the next steps for the search. Any questions for me?
Okay, thank you, Dr. Tinsley. Next, item J, annual report required public notification, Dr. Edwards.
Sure. This one's quick and easy. Each year, we have to notify the public of a list of things and where to find that information, mostly on our website. So we usually do this every year in October. We receive from VSBA any updates that needed to be changed due to any changes in code or anything like that. So what you have here listed, and it's more for public information, is all of the information that our community needs to know and how to access that from our website. That's it.
So this is a long list.
Yes.
And this is listed just as an information item, but at some point, does it need approval?
No, it does not need approval. We are just required to notify public of where do you find the program of studies, the FERPA, all the information. So we have just made it a regular October, November, depends upon when it's updated.
So its presence in our agenda is the public notification?
Yes, it is, sir.
Okay. All right. Next item is operations policy updates. Dr. Wodak.
Okay, yes, sir. So we have quite a number of policies to update. The good news is that they're pretty simple. There's nothing too wild and crazy that are changing there. The operations policy committee did meet earlier this month. The first one is EB. It is simply a policy and legal reference update, just a little bit of wording changes as well, and ensuring that there is some language that in the second paragraph, or third paragraph, related to who is included on the designation as well. So no major changes there. Would certainly take any questions that you may have. And everything that's here is consistent with our current practices.
Yeah, as I say, this is best updated.
And this is just for discussion this evening.
Yes, sir.
It will come back to us for action at next meeting?
November meeting, yes, sir. The next one is EBCB, safety drills. Again, this is all still consistent with our current practice, just changing, instead of calling out the specific times of fire drills, it would change to just that we're going to follow the statewide fire prevention code, but that is still consistent with our practice. If there's no questions on that, we'll move to the FEA, educational facilities, specifications, VSBA update, just legal references and cross-references. So no specific changes there. FECBB, this is a VSBA proposed regulation, so it's not one we have now, but we do have that. It is I'm assuming it's a legal requirement to have this. That's why VSBA is adding that. It's just saying that we're going to design future and existing, as we renovate existing facilities, to meet Americans with Disability Act requirements. That, of course, is what we do now anyway. So that certainly will continue forward. Unless there's any questions on that, we'll move along. The facilities planning, FB, facilities planning, it's a 3-year review. This is, again, no significant changes there. This relates to your capital improvement plan, which you will remember you did last week. So that's timely. So we'll continue to do that year after year, I'm sure. KB is a public information program. It's a VSBA policy update as well as legal reference requirements. Again, still consistent with our existing practices. No significant changes there. Just simply saying that we're going to develop a program that keeps our community and our school community informed. Community use of school facilities. This is an update to the legal references and as well. No significant changes there. There's a complementary regulation as well that really provides a lot more details to this, but there's no changes to that as well. Just saying that we are going to allow the community to use our schools in appropriate ways, and we do that very frequently. KH is public gifts to schools. This is simply updating a wording. It's a VSBA update. Instead of calling it a donation, it just says it's acceptance of gifts. So no major changes there. KJZ. Now this is one that has a recommended VSBA change, or VSBA has recommended a change. However, the policy committee said, let's not make this change. And the reason is that there is an item to remove a provision that says that we're not going to allow commercial establishments that primarily advertise or sell intoxicants or tobacco to advertise in school materials. The committee thinks that that's probably a good prohibition to have, and we would suggest continue for that. So you see that red line there. What the committee, I think, would suggest is that we would remove that
And keep the original
Yeah, we wanted to keep it.
unless there's any disagreement about that. I think that's a pretty reasonable one. And our very last one, so VSBA, this is our vandalism policy. Again, continues to be consistent with existing process, just as a legal code and reference as well.
No vandalism?
No vandalism is allowed, yeah. That's ideal. So these items are for you for consideration. We'll bring them back at the November board meeting. Again, there was a lot of talking, but not a whole lot of changing there. And so that's there for you.
Okay, moving on, informational items. And I'll just
Dr.
read-
Day?
Yes.
Unfortunately, I need to excuse myself from the meeting of omission.
That we understand. I don't think there's any more decisions that we need to make tonight. So appreciate your effort to be part of things up to this point. And we appreciate what you're doing down there. Thank you for your hard work.
Praying
Thank
for-
you.
Okay, be safe. All right, I'm just reading through the list of informational items. Joint City Council School Board meeting, 4 o'clock a week from today. The next Academic Success Committee, Thursday, November 7th at 3:30. The next school board meeting, Tuesday, November 12th at 5 o'clock. The next Facilities and Finance Committee meeting, the same day, November 12th, but at 3:30. And the next Legislative Advocacy and Community Relations Committee meeting, also the same day, November 12th at 3:30. Discipline Committee will be meeting to review data, November 14th, 3:30. The legislative breakfast is scheduled for November 15th at EC Glass, starting at 8:30. Then we have no work session scheduled for November because of the VSBA convention. And says no academic
Skip that.
success committee.
You can skip 9, I don't know why that's in there.
Is there an academic success?
Yeah, you just read
It
it.
should be December, we'd be 9 in December.
Oh, no meeting in December.
Yeah, we will have one in December, though.
Yeah, okay, so
That's
that
not
probably will,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. And fall break is November 25 through 29. Do you have your hand up to say something? Oh, okay. Okay. If there's no other business items,
We have to figure out where we're gonna have that meeting because we were gonna use room 206, but 206 is gonna be finance and facilities in there.
and is there something going on in this room?
Yep,
Yeah,
discipline
that's,
review committee board. Well,
What day are you referring?
Which date are you talking about, though?
the 7th.
Okay.
Nobody else has a meeting on the side.
Okay, my bad.
So we're okay.
I got confused. Yep, we're good.
And we do have a discipline committee meeting coming up this Thursday.
Yeah, we have a discipline committee this Thursday. It looks like I'm going to be filling in for Mr. Connor. And we're going to have a long, fun meeting because we have 6 cases.
You're an honorary member.
Yeah,
This one.
I expect to be duly decorated for myself.
Or you can immediately you can go to Dunbar and get a taste of Lynchburg.
Okay, if I'm
Right
still on
afterwards.
my feet, yeah. Okay, if there's no further business, I will adjourn the meeting. Meeting adjourned.